Hot damn, we're live.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and Archon, leading incubi to that 6+++ show. I am your host, Tom, and I'm coming to you on the day of the slate. The slate is dropped. Whoa, it's exciting. We've got a bunch of new rules. The world is all changed, and we're all basically sick, but we're going to get it together. We're going to power through. We're ill. But there's new stuff that demands our attention and talking about, so we're gonna do our best to dissect some of the changes. We want to make this quite interactive because obviously there's a million different things happening with the changes. So please, if there's things you want us to talk about, things you want us to look at, shoot it in the chat. That's going to be your best way of steering us as we sort of mosey our way through a bunch of different stuff. It will be a Dataslate show, and then questions. I think most of the questions are going to be Dataslate related anyway. That is the focus. That is what we're doing. It is very singular in purpose. There probably will be a tip if one of the other lads has remembered to bring it. There will be a little bit of lore. I've certainly remembered my end, so that's fine. We've got a whole show, Chris, to think of a tip, which brings me to who I'm here with. I'm going to start with my dear leader, Chris. Chris, how are you?
Ill.
Yeah, I'm sick as well. I think we swapped colds. We had a practice day for ITT.
Can we just talk about that?
Oh, we can. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore. It's irrelevant. ITT is a dead meta, and
it's not what I meant.
over.
I've got a tip for you.
Remember
your army at the end of a tournament.
Bam! Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I have left a whole Votan army in Telford. That's the latest story.
So the full story is that we're there at Leeds in the morning, and Ed and Tom rock up fashionably late, and Ed's like, "We've got a bit of a problem, guys."
Oh. No. Let me tell this bit. So I'm sat next to Tom in the car. I get out the car. I get my army from the back seat where I left it after he very kindly picked me up at the train station. And Tom goes, "I'll grab my Votan out the back." And then I just see him standing there looking through his back windscreen. And so I was like, I wonder what he's doing. I walked around and I looked through and I could see some Votan, a little shoebox full of models. And I thought, that's not very many models. And Tom goes, "Where's my Votan?"
Yeah, they're in Glasshammer. That's what it turned out.
I shouldn't have done, but I found immediately hilarious.
I mean, it's very
funny. It's very funny. Now we know they're safe. But you had to work backwards and work out where
there
they
was
were.
a bit of a moment where I'm like, someone just had me Votan out the car. That'd be very sad. And I remember now leaving Glasshammer, I had picked them up, got them to the entranceway, and then there'd been something that had happened. And my brain can't do multiple things at once, as we know.
Not at the end of a tournament.
Not at the end of a tournament. And then the Votan stayed. They stayed at Glasshammer after a very successful outing at this team's event. And fortunately for me, someone from Glasshammer probably will bring them down for ITT, so we will have them. But then we had the whole practice day where it was like, what are we going to do? And I just had some crates to be Sagittars, and I had a bunch of Space Marines to be Votan, and we made do that way. And it was horrible. It was horrible and embarrassing. But the other part of that weekend was that I was already sick, Chris was already sick, and I've come away feeling even worse.
Super cold.
Yeah, it's a really nasty bug. I think it's teaching, though, isn't it? It's always teaching when you go back. There's always stuff flying around. Other than being sick, Chris, are you well?
No.
No?
I'm being ill. I been just overdosing on paracetamol to try and help for the weekend. Had a lovely trip to the O2 yesterday with my school for a Young Voices concert. Got in at 1 a.m, so that was fun times. But in terms of hobby progress, no, because I haven't wanted to do anything. Still got to make the team's cards for pairings for the weekend. I just had literally no time at all to do that. So I am floundering a bit at the moment. But yeah, so therefore no time to paint, unfortunately. We've set a deadline for our first old world piece of content.
Yeah, we have. It's actually quite soon.
So it is quite soon because finally, everyone, it is almost not January anymore, which is
it's a big deal.
Crazy news. Which gives me about a week to paint a model. But hey, after the weekend, I'll be fine, I'm sure. So
yeah.
I did undercoat some stuff. Pointless painting World Eaters anymore, so that's a shame.
Oh, I don't know that that's true. I think they're okay, but we'll come to that. We'll talk about World Eaters.
But other than that, that's me.
Very nice. Awesome. Well, I'm also joined tonight by John, my sensei. John, how are you doing?
I'm actually all right because
Good.
I was ill on the weekend too, but instead of practicing and hanging out with you guys, I just stayed in bed for 2 days.
It was a 4-game day. It was a bit much. I don't think it was needed.
And then I actually kind of recovered from it. So it was kind of sometimes I felt really like I was missing out by not getting to play stuff, but I feel better for it. So not to be
I'm
smug,
glad.
but it's nice sometimes listening to your body, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes not playing that game can actually pan out. So
Chris is undressing. That's nice.
hello. But yeah.
Awesome. Have you done any hobby, John?
I have painted 1 scout and I have 9 more to paint and 10 Death Company that I primed last night. So I've got a few things to paint this week. But last week I was a bit busy because Ed and I decided we were just going to only talk about AdMech for 5 days straight.
It was AdMech week.
Yeah, which was great. And I resisted the urge to buy some AdMech, but there is some things there that I think people are underappreciating. That especially when they get an update to their points once the book's kind of had some time to breathe.
Now we've had the buffs from the Dataslate, the AdMech.
No, they're going to have their own separate thing. You know how this
They'll
works.
have their time. It'll come.
But I think it'll be... I think there's something there still there, which may tempt me again, and it probably involves big clunky robots.
Very nice. Very, very nice. I'm also joined tonight by the other half of John, the other head on the conjoined shoulder that is John and Edward. Jedward, even.
no.
Ed, how are you doing? Yeah, I've just realised we can use that against the rest of them.
My brother's called James, so for years.
Oh, okay, so you're used to it.
Yeah.
How are you, man? You all right?
Yeah, no, I'm great. Feel fantastic.
You were a very tired boy at practice as well.
Yeah, I was.
You had a story that until I decided to hold my beer, it was actually quite funny as well.
Yeah. We were talking about practice, and I said, "Oh, where do I have to get to?" And someone said, "Oh, Milton Keynes is the closest station." I was like, "Cool, that's nice and easy for me to get to." Turns out it's not. It was Kettering I was thinking of. So I was up at 5 to get a train for training. Then I didn't get home till about 11ish, but it was fine.
But you made the train, because as we were leaving, I was like, it's a half-hour drive, and you've left at 10:02, and your train's at 20 past.
Well, and I didn't say this at the time, but respectfully, I know the group that I was with. So I started prompting 3 hours ahead of time.
Yeah.
I said, we need to leave at this time. And then as it got closer and closer, I said, we need to leave. And then I got my shoes on. I was like, I need to go.
I actually, for the first time since I was about 17, I indulged in driving a bit fast as well. It was great. I really enjoyed it. We got
within the legal speed limit.
I was good. But I was definitely rallying my way through some of the countryside to get you there. I really enjoyed it. I haven't done that in a very long time.
Yeah, then I got to on my connection. I can't remember what the station's called, but there were more people on that train station than I've ever seen anywhere before. And I was like, I'm not getting on this train. This is going to be awful. I'm never getting home. 10 minutes later, there I am, packed like a sardine. Somehow managed to squeeze onto a train, so that was nice. No, I was fine. I was like, I don't care, but I can't move. Yeah, I'm on the train. I'm going home. This is all I care about. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, shout out to some people in the chat. We've got Sindri here. Sean Kate was here. He likes the Photoshop. Yeah, there's some good Photoshop this week.
Didn't ask about my hobbying.
I will ask about your hobbying in a minute, Ed. I'm going to welcome everyone first. You had your chance. Hick Dead is also here. Scrivo's somehow in there. Sindri Peck is also here. There's multiple Sindris. I'll never get over that. John Swallow's here. Oh, nice to have you here, John. That's fun. Mechanicus says Tom's stories are always the best stories. Yeah, I mean, if you like a guy looking like an idiot, then absolutely. And Jack Tite is also here. Jack Tite, who has done very well out of the community vote.
Oh, yeah.
Can you believe that?
Me. Knuckles.
That's not his doing. That's Destiny deciding, right? Jack Tite went up for community vote and what army to take. The community thought they'd shaft him with mono god demons, and now the landscape is very, very different. Who could have thought that 40k would do something like that to us, turn it all around on its head? That almost never happens. Ed, you can talk about your hobby now, mate, if you want to.
Yeah, I just got loads of fucking elves. I got a dragon off screen. It's too far to go, but
dragon.
Oh, he's going to get him.
Hasn't got any wings yet, but there's a dragon there. So there'll be a whole lot of old world. But
and you'd settled on a scheme, hadn't you? You had an idea.
Yeah, gonna do them Welsh colours is the plan. So bit of green, bit of white, bit of red. That'll be nice. I'm also currently in the process of putting together Caesaris, because I need one for this weekend.
Oh, cool.
Anyone who knows Magic, I traded a Sheoldred, a £70 card, for a load of Necron bits and pieces, which was a good trade as far as I'm concerned.
Excellent. Right, well, we're going to be getting into the data slate in just a second. There's loads of you here. It's nice to have you excited. If you do have questions about particular things, as I say, do shoot them in chat. We'll do our best to get to them. Before we do that, we are very good at self-promotion, possibly the best. And we're going to do a little Plus roundup for you in terms of what we've been up to. Chris, do you want to go ahead with the old Plus roundup?
Well, as you all know, we had AdMech week last week. And AdMech are a thing. So if you want to know about any of the maybe you're about to go to a team tournament and you're thinking, oh, I'm not quite sure what AdMech is, and I'm worried about playing one of the 3 AdMech players at the team event. So watch all of those videos to check it out. In terms of other content, I have been chronicling our team's trip to the international team tournament, which is obviously this coming weekend. And I've done episode 3, which is preparing for the event. So I kind of went through all the different categories of things you might want to be thinking about as a team in order to prepare, be it list design, training days, a whole host of different things. I had said that I would do an episode this week looking through all the top lists and what maybe to think about with attackers and defenders and that sort of thing. I just don't see it happening. Hardly any time, and any time I do have spare is going to be spent sleeping at the moment. So it's probably not going to happen, but I will definitely do an episode next week.
Yeah, the report will be the cool thing, won't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you all about how we, smashed our way to a middle of the road 3-2.
Oh, no, none of that. None of that. Believe.
Triple podium, right? Triple podium.
Triple Plus podium, yeah, absolutely.
Please take out the international team tournament. Absolutely. When? It's inevitable. I should say we did have State of Play with Nassim Hussain, and that is all about Astra Militarum. And that's hit nearly 2,000 views already. We've got people who are far more knowledgeable than Nassim leaving comments in the chat. So not only do you get to watch a video with
the comments are gold. If you want to see a bunch of people correct one of the best players in the world on how to use his army, it's
only second in the ITC.
Last season, second best player in the world. There are people who actually know more than him. So therefore, you should definitely check that out and check out the comments. But other than that, things are going all right. As usual, if you want to go buy Warhammer, buy it from Composite Games, because if you put the code PLUS in, you'll get extra money off, and we'll get a little smidgen of it. We've got plenty of things in the pipeline. We are going to be, and I will put a post on the Patreon page, we are actually going to be closing down our Patreon page and moving purely over to YouTube memberships. We just want it a bit more streamlined, and we're going to offer things specifically through YouTube membership. So if you are a Patreon member, if something just randomly happens in the next week or two, it's really hard to delete Patreon an account. You can't just hit a button and delete it all. They have to delete all the data, and it's a long process. So that might well come up over the next week or two. We watch this space. We will be launching something new onto YouTube in the coming days.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome. We've got some more people coming in. Ultimate Funk is in. Thank you very much, Garrett family.
Garrett, hero.
The super chat. That is lovely. Melee Drakari is back on the menu, and it's a very exciting time. Existence UK is here. Jack Tight, we've already mentioned, but he's talking about Rotigus. It's just Jack Tight on recently buffed Noble Demons in my future, I'm afraid. I'm very afraid, but we will get it done. Okay. We are going to launch into some data slate shenanigans now. I've seen one question which we will address, but we're going to just start gradually rattling through what's changed and picking out things we're interested in. It's not going to be comprehensive. If there's particular things you want to talk about, then great. Otherwise, we're going to talk about what interests us, because that is our right as human beings. That is what we're here to do. We're going to pick out things we think are relevant and interesting. Otherwise, we'll let it go. But as I say, if there's something you're really passionate about, you really want to hear about, then do please bung us a chat, and we'll do our best to address it.
If you want to see Man Reed's book on the internet, there's about 30 of them up already. So you can have exactly the same takes from exactly the same people. Feel free.
That exists.
We'll give you Man Reed's pamphlet and you'll fucking like it.
Exactly that. You're here for the strident, slightly exaggerated takes. That's what we'll give you. It's going to be a good time. All right. Did we have a slide for this? Is that the idea?
Boom.
Oh, we're off. Boom. Look at this. Professional.
The rest won't be,
Professional.
If you press the slideshow button in the top right, it'll even go big.
And it has.
Kinky.
Rules commentary. January 2024. We start with important rules. Abilities with the same name can affect units multiple times. Blood Crusher Stonks. Very high. Very high.
Lee Jones just got 18.
Yeah, he did.
Watch
On a
out,
whim.
Lee Jones.
That's not a bad change, is it? Being able to stack a couple of different things, very, very powerful. There's a few things out there that can abuse that. Blood Crushers with Renmaster's definitely the one that spring to mind, just to get crazy damage stacking. So that's nice. I like that we're getting some clarifications. I think that's useful. They've flipped, backwards and forwards on a few of these, but they're definitely good.
Before we go any further, can we just say this is so fucking good? Like, what a great job they've done. Just dropped loads of clarifying information and a comprehensive rule slate, whether or not the whole thing ends up being amazing or not. Like, it's just good.
It's a hell of a lot of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the most comprehensive and thought out I think I've ever seen from a data slate. So fair play to them.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a very, very high quality. Next slide. Adding models to a unit. You can add models to units even if you're not on the board. You fancy growing back a Grey Knight Terminator? Go nuts. If you want to reanimate, I guess. You can do that too.
Might specifically say on the board.
Oh, interesting. Does it not let you?
I'd have to double check that one, but
Sure.
I think that one.
Definitely the Grey Knight Terminator one, guys, though.
Well, there's a strategy, isn't there, to reanimate?
Yeah, any strats that bring heal models will probably work,
And you
but anything
could do it with an Alarus. If they'd lost an Alarus and then they did their up in the sky thing, you could grow one back.
Alarus. Oh god, are they good now? Were they good before?
Yeah.
Ed certainly has opinions on
I
Alarus.
think so.
I fucking do. Continue. We'll get there.
I mean, that's the gist of that one. It's cute. I don't know that it's how I'd actually rule that, but it is how it's ruled. So, mate, hey. This whole edition seems to be about just slightly saying I don't care to things that should quite feel or act the way they do. There's been a lot of that. A lot of stuff doesn't really function the way it used to. So just be alive to it. Be aware of it. Next slide.
I'm already on it.
Oh, strat reserves. First battle round. Sweet.
Basically, how it worked, it means that you can't strat reserve into your opponent's deployment zone on turn one if you're walking from a board edge. This just clarifies it. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Unless it clarifies in the rule that gives you the ability.
Yeah.
Which I don't
another
know
nice
if any of them
straightforward
do,
thing.
Not yet.
Future proofs.
Battle shock.
You can't res a unit that's been battle shocked because you can't target it with strats. This is how it was always going to be played, but there were some of you fuckers, some of you sneaky little shits who did not make that clear.
Outrageous.
So, none of your fucking resin, battle shock technomancers. I got my eyes on.
Absolutely awful. Absolutely awful.
Champion beings.
So this one's interesting. So you get the charge bonus, which is strike first. Any other bonuses that your data sheet gives you when you charge do not count as part of the charge bonus.
Okay.
So, for example, Heroic Intervention doesn't give you the charge bonus, but your benefits are not part of that charge bonus.
Right, okay.
Is what they've clarified. Which
So the things that you get on the charge, for example, Blood Angels, strengthened attacks, you get for heroically intervening, but you don't get the strikes first.
Sure. Sure.
Or
Yeah,
Hammer
that's
Breath on Assault Intercessors. I think that
Blood Angels have slightly better buffs when they do those things these days, so that's nice for them.
True.
Sorry, Death Guard players. This is about when objectives flip, and they flip in phases. They can flip at the end of phases, which means a lot of the stuff that was going on with sticky and contagion objectives doesn't hold on or last as effectively as it previously did.
The big change was they put turn into all of these references.
Yeah.
Because before it wasn't as clear. And people are like, well, is it the end of the phase? Is it the end of the fight phase? Does it matter? Or is it the end of the turn?
Yeah.
So they're just tightening all that stuff up now.
Yeah, nice and simple. And that's, again, fairly intuitive, that one. That's how objectives tend to read. Yeah, another basic one. So this is CP gained at the start of the turn. You have... Yeah, they count towards your overall battle round limit. You can't be adding tons and tons of CP.
I mean, everyone was playing it like
everyone
that.
plays it that way, don't be an
The way
idiot.
we with his CP, no one was trying to argue you got it.
I'm sure someone was.
No, someone was, some dickhead.
Yeah.
Damage characteristics.
This is again how it's played, but it's just making it clear. So the way halving damage works, for example, if you've got melter damage on the ability of the weapon, it's not halved. This is just clarifying that if your damage is on your profile, d6 plus 2, the entirety of that is halved.
Yeah, because people were wanting to swing that a little bit, weren't they, and try and get that counting like melter, but it is not that way. Yeah. Cool. Next up, do not make an advanced roll abilities.
Stops you from stacking multiple abilities. I can't think of any examples, but good future proofing.
Yeah, very straightforward. This was interesting. So embarked stuff can get out after coming in from reserves. Has to be outside of 9. So none of this, I come in closer, I make a charge out of my Land Raider or whatever else.
Which I think is too big to strat reserve anyway.
Which no one has ever done, but people have certainly wasted my time talking about.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is actually very good for anything that has little shooty lads in boats, for example. They love that. They absolutely love that. There's armies I like will definitely be using this a little bit in the future. It's quite a nice one. I think it makes sense, and I think having the 9 away reader makes sense as well.
Just clarifying that, and when they disembark, they count as making a normal move, just for clarity, because there was so many different rulings of that across different tournament circuits.
Yes.
Frustrating.
Yes. Oh, enhancements, multi-model character units. Yeah, someone in that unit has the enhancement. You have to specify who has it. It's the Beastmaster. He has it. And then fighting on death being simultaneous.
The counting is destroyed when they fight on death is interesting.
Yeah, for triggering off things like Sisters, right? Where you get to your +1 to hit, +1 to wound as you go down the unit.
It's not going to make a difference for strats, because strats are typically when you're selected to fight, but any static bonuses, like you say, such as Sisters of Battle, that could be quite nice.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very nice. Hazardous. This was just cleaning up, not letting you allocate different things across weapons, right?
Also, make it so that if you shoot with a hazardous weapon on your character and your squad is, say, plasma guns, you can, if you fail the Cybolt or whatever your librarian has on a hazardous roll, you can just kill a plasma gun, which is weird, but they've made it clear.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Cool.
But then on the flip, if it's the only hazardous weapon, he has to take it, is the flip they've done. Which makes sense, right?
Which is how it was before as well, but it's nice just to have, again, clarity.
The way I kind of interpreted it is it's the equivalent of the people getting destroyed out of a vehicle. You're picking that, so this is a similar sort of thing, as long as they're in the same condition.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice one.
For characters, monsters, and vehicles.
Still kills Tau, and that's the main thing.
Hell yeah.
Just clarifying objective secured.
Yeah, it's turn again. They've just added in.
Yeah, I think that's still
on phase aspect.
Yeah.
Yes, you can't fire a one-shot weapon out of the
not
top
being
of
able
the
to use
fucking transport and then use
Yeah.
it again. Use rat fucks. Stop.
It's a GSC thing. Demo charges.
Just stop with your bullshit.
Did anyone else use that? I think it was only
Guard,
GSC.
I think, could do something.
Guard, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's not actually good in GSC because you don't get any of the things you need to make them actually hit accurately, but it's dead now. So
none of those
This hasn't been a great slate for GSC. All my GSC fans out there, this is not the data slate for us, but maybe we'll be back another time soon.
Yeah.
Redeploy was a big change. So with redeploy, you can you do it even with infiltrate ability, so you can move things around in the midboard, which is a big change from how it's historically worked. So there's going to be strategic playing to put things down, block space, and then move it back if you're not bothered about leaving it there. That 20-man neophyte brick with the forward deploy can still do some very stupid things at the start of the game. So yeah, I'm not sure that's the way I'd have ruled that, but it is the way it is.
The classic.
Splitting units.
You can't.
Oh
split
yeah,
a unit twice.
this was already fairly intuitive. You can't infinitely split Cabalites in a Venom until you've got like one Cabalite in a Venom. You're an idiot if you were doing that. Don't do that.
And the split units count as at full starting strength for purposes of when they're taking damage.
You know why this is in here? Because fucking Drakari got massive buffs, and they're like, some knobhead, some knobhead's going to try and be a right knob.
Yeah.
And just
seeing it off just in case.
Yeah.
Vehicles with base stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, all nice and straightforward. disembarking 3-inch horizontally, 5-inch vertically. Very cool. And this is a big one, so this is ignore modifiers. So ignore modifiers has been cleared up. They've ruled this in multiple directions at different times. And we've got the fun version. This means your things that ignore modifiers can also ignore modifiers to AP and damage, which is a big deal. You can ignore Armour of Contempt, you can ignore damage reduction, you can whack Catan with Trajan, you can whack Catan with Votan.
If
with
Catan weren't a datasheet that existed, there is no way they'd have written this rule.
I completely agree. I feel like they've swung back on this purely because Necrons are currently good and they've got a lot of damage reduction. I think that's very much what's gone on here. It brings Mortarion back into contention for Death Guard, which is quite interesting because suddenly his aura is a lot more relevant again. Yeah. And with things like Custodes potentially back on the rise, I think this is actually good to have out there because they too like their damage reduction. So I think this is the right way of having this. And there's actually quite a large number of armies in the game that have some form of this squirreled away somewhere or other, so it's worth looking and having a look and seeing if you need a little tech piece in your army to take advantage of it. Stratagem and Errata. So command reroll is a strat, rapid ingress is a strat.
Just says exactly what you can use.
Yeah, I think it's very, very straightforward, right? I don't see anything massive on that.
No.
And that's it.
Sweet, we made it. That's good. Yeah. That's Errata. Errata doesn't thrill me. So thanks for bearing with us as we got through that. It's all fairly straightforward. So what we're going to do now is, because you've been very patient, we're going to pick a few of the questions you chucked in out before we dive into the meat of it. So the first one we got was from Sindri Tepek, the other Sindri, which says, thoughts on the Custodes rule now affecting devastating wounds as well. How do we feel about that, people? Ed's dancing.
So I put in the group chat earlier, my army is now the best army in the game. Also maybe I should play something else. And I'm really keen to play some Custodes. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's a very powerful buff. I think they probably did need it. I played against them without it the other day, and I felt like, they, as much as I hate them, they do need it. They absolutely do need it. Obviously, because it's GW, they never just change one thing. They've done exactly what we were mildly alarmed about, which is you pull the points lever and the rules lever at the same time. So we'll see.
Double buff.
We'll see if it's too much. It's not. It looks like they're gaining about 100 points, which actually in Custodes terms isn't going to get you a ton of new stuff. But it is.
But here's the thing. I think that changes how you write lists. Because you know how many points 6 squads of 4 Custodian Guard are now? It's like 1,500 or something.
That's very nice.
It's not very many. That's a lot. If you just go pure MSU, oh boy, you can go pure MSU. And I'm interested to put that on the virtual tabletop.
This ruling does confuse me whether they're going to approach a Dark Angel's errata for the new codex for the Watcher in the Dark ability, because it is essentially the same thing.
It's weird to see this and not that for them. I don't like Dark Angels either, but I wouldn't like a world where Custodes get this and they don't. Doesn't feel especially fair. But I think it's more essential for Custodes at this moment in time.
Agreed.
John's showing is very big on my screen. Anyone else seen that?
It's making me very
John's the world king here. Have we got any way of adjusting that so he's back into
I didn't hit the transition.
normal portion? My ego wasn't handling it very well. I didn't like that.
I was fine with it.
Our next question was: did the points go down enough on Imperial Knights to compensate for still not getting Bondsman back?
Survey says maybe.
It's certainly a thing.
Play Chaos Knights.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting for them. It's not bad points cuts, and they're a funny one. I feel like their guns are quite nice for dealing with some of the durability armies that this slate has also brought back into the frame. So maybe they'll have a place, but I don't know. I just think IK are one of several indexes which has been shafted a little bit by the fact it was introduced to play one way, and then the way it played was awful, so it got gutted, and now it doesn't know what it wants to be. I think I'd put GSC in that camp as well. Like, it's like, what are you for now? Because your gimmick's kind of been massacred. And then Pickleax asked... Oh, Pickleax has a question about Night Spinners, which I think has been cleared up. So, very nice. Sindri says, you hate the Golden Bananas. Heresy. Yeah, I just don't like him, Sindri. I'm sorry.
He really doesn't.
I really don't. I never have.
It's been a long-standing thing.
It's a long-standing... I think, actually... my resentment with the two armies both stem from their ability to just sometimes just be really good at Warhammer and make all their saves, and something about that. I play armies that lean into the opposite end of that spectrum, where their thing is that they never make any saves and they die. So it always feels like an abuse to me.
But your Archon's Shimmerfield, man. Never happens.
He always rolls a 1. He always rolls a 1. I wonder if you run 2 and or 3, will they all always roll a 1? We will see.
Yes.
Right, where are we going next?
Well, I've got Scribner's other one, which is just the Balance Dataslate.
Oh,
So that's exciting. So let's see.
Ooh.
We can pick and choose, perhaps. Would
Would
that help for it?
How many slides is this, Scrib?
Oh, great question. Let me just
58.
check.
Right, let's go.
Yeah.
Sororitas. Can you see?
Adeptus Sororitas.
You can't just spam all your 6s all at once onto some bullshit. Go.
It's up to
It's now
2,
capped
rather.
2.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think
still
this is a
very
reasonable
good.
change. Yeah, so the
Yeah.
Triumph was letting you just absolutely shove through millions of 6s. Now you can do 2. That's still really nice. Triumph is still very cheap. I think it's still got very nice play.
A note for you guys, any of these slides that has italics, that's the thing that's massively changed
Nice.
for helping on the reading.
So Custodies, as we've already alluded to, their Aegis rule now affects Dev Wounds as well. So that's very handy for them. Big durability to boost to them, and it means things like Thousand Suns, which would have just gone through them, are now going to get run over instead.
Seems fine.
Great success.
Yeah,
Very nice.
very nice.
Oh,
Right, go on then,
oh,
Chris.
my eyes.
Talk about poor old Eldari. What's happened here?
Well, guys. So obviously one thing that people were doing was putting Fate's Messenger and enhancement on the Spirit Seer. It meant you could turn a hit or a wound roll into just a 6 with your Wraith Guard. So you could use it to give you an additional Overwatch hit or to guarantee a Dev Wound, and then on the other turn to guarantee a save. So now it's on the bearer only, and Spirit Seer doesn't do anything. So this is an enhancement that you're going to see now far more likely on something like the Death Jester, which people were already taking because that gives you sustain 2, so you get 8 of those extra hits. Or you've got Dev Wounds, you can use the 6 on, so you guarantee 2 Dev Wounds off it. So that's where that that enhancement will go now. If you're taking a Death Jester, you're going to want this enhancement, and it's still a really good piece. To be
Yeah,
honest with
it's
you.
very good on him.
And lots of people are doing it anyway. It's just if you're taking 10 Wraith Guard, it makes sense to put it there. But are you taking 10 Wraith Guard anymore?
No.
Maybe not,
Because
Phantasm has also now changed. The most hated stratagem in all of 40k
it is.
has been nerfed once. It became infantry only. And now it's changed from up to your normal move of kind of like 7 inches or whatever it was. Now it's just up to D6 inches, which is because if you think about it from an Eldar perspective, the unit you're phantasming most turns is your Wraith Guard. Now Wraith Guard have big bases,
They do.
and it works out that basically if you want to pop out your unit to shoot and then phantasm back behind a wall, you're going to need to roll a 3, 4, 5, 6 to get them back behind that wall. That's if you're not double ranking. So that immediately gives you a kind of like a potential issue.
Yeah.
Uh,
My sympathies are with this. I would kind of feel like it maybe should have been D3 plus 3 inches. I think D6 is very, very swingy, and if you're spending a CP to completely fail to get out of trouble, that is going to get old real quick for older players. I think it's interesting. It definitely deals with the Wraith Guard problem, but actually even the little infantry units, unless you're meticulous with your placing, can fall afoul of
if you
this
think
very,
like
very easily.
the Warp Spiders, they go fire off their 24 inches. They then fire. Then they used to be able to fire and fade 12 and Phantasm 7, and you've basically got 19 inches to say it was a potential play. Now that's just so risky, and points have gone up on very.
This coupled with other changes that we'll get to just means I think Eldar are in very real danger of getting run over by combat armies in ways they weren't before.
Yeah.
Good job there aren't any of those left.
And that was already starting to happen to them, so we'll see.
This has aligned the stratagem to be more like to codices stratagems that are similar. They're normally D6 inches, or if you're a specific archetype that the strategem's meant to lead into, it's the flat. So it feels like if they're going to do it, they should have maybe done it where, say, if it was specific things like Dire Avengers got flat 7 or something. That feels like that's what's missing from it.
It's the trigger time for it as well. It's the fact that you see the whole picture, you know what you'd like to change, but actually, are you going to need to roll a 5 or a 6 to actually achieve that? That's a little bit rough, I think. And yeah, it's you're going to get some moments where the Eldar player just spends a point on Phantasm and then actually doesn't get anywhere useful, and I'm sure people will enjoy that. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'll enjoy that, but its function has been quite severely damaged.
Yeah, it's that kind of that opportunity to skip the other side of a wall, which for small size bases is fine. But also just that, I could Phantasm here. What you used to be able to do is hide a unit, and then your opponent would line up their guns elsewhere because they couldn't see this unit, and then you'd Phantasm onto the objective and grab your primary, and you now can't shoot me, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Or now,
It's all the forward moving potential.
now you've got, I've rolled a 1, now I can't reach the objective, so I don't get my primary. So
in that sense, yeah, it gave you so much agency before that it was quite horrifying.
So now it's just a half decent strat that will still be a pain in the ass sometimes, but other times it will actually be a waste of a CP and detrimental. Trying to plan around it.
I think 2 CP would have been better personally, and not change it.
Nah.
So we got Eldrad's Diviner of Fate's ability. What we doing?
So I'll just check it out because one thing we haven't mentioned is that previously Eldar obviously got 12 fate dice.
Yep.
And rolled those at the beginning of the game. Now you only get 6.
Yeah, it's a big change.
And so what they had to do with Eldrad, because Eldrad says you get 15, is they had to change it to, it's an additional 3.
Yeah.
Otherwise people have been like, I'll go from 6 to 15.
Does that make Eldrad worth having at this point?
I don't think so.
I love Eldrad.
Because his ability is Doom, but it's like an 18-inch range.
Yeah, and he's dead if he's within 18.
And I don't think that's great. Well,
know what didn't go up in points? Fire Dragons.
Yeah, Fire Dragons are still amazing, mate. I love them. Absolutely love them. 85 points.
But in terms of dice, which is what
Doom some Fire Dragons.
I would say that probably means you're more likely to see Guardians.
Yeah.
If they're sat on if you think right at the beginning of the edition where we were all Eldar players were trying to get as many dice as they could because they could splurge them straight away.
Totally.
Or in a big load with 3 Wraith Knights. You wanted the Guardians on objectives. Well, now actually, is 6 enough? You're definitely taking a Farseer because you've got to change the dice into 6s. And, excuse me, I think you might see Guardians start on your home field, especially because your home field's probably not filled with 3 Night Spinners. Speaking of which...
well, before we get to that, one of the reasons you didn't see Guardians was because Indirect was so strong at the start of the edition. They were just a freebie for the Desolation Marines.
Yeah.
Now they're not.
Yeah, for sure.
No, Desolation Marines. Remember those?
Yeah, that was the whole time. It's actually not as long ago as you think, but I'm glad they're gone. Speaking of artillery that has been nerfed, it's the Night Spinner. What's happened to the Night Spinner, Chris?
This is such an interesting one. So, Night Spinner, obviously, what you used to do was -2 to your movement characteristic, and you cannot advance. So people were taking 3, and just cutting down 3 units. It shuts down the Catan's teleport ability and all that sort of thing. So now it's been more in line with other units of a similar ability. So subtract 2 to your move and 2 from your advance. So that's rather than no advance, just -2 to your advance. But then they've buffed it. This unit which has terrorized battlefields for the last 2 to 3 months, they've given it an additional bonus.
Yeah, they have.
Which is -2 to charge rolls. Now, I think this is a really interesting change because in some matchups this is worse, and in other matchups it's actually better. If your opponent isn't relying on advancing and charging, then you're just saying, you've got a 7-inch charge or a 6-inch charge. Well, now it's an 8. And it just, and I think it's quite a lot of games. It is actually, wraiths around everywhere. Moving them from 10 to 8 isn't that big a deal, but now you're getting to move 2 from their charge as well. Even turning a 5-inch charge into a 7.
Yeah. And this has good interplay with Phantasm, because although Phantasm's weaker, if you know you're already getting a -2 on their charge added in, it just gives you a few things that can help you play keep away still, for sure.
I mean, they've gone up 30 points, is it? So they're 200 now.
They're in that region. They're expensive.
I would struggle to see... I mean, I was wrong about it last time, and everyone went, oh no, triple spinner. but I don't think you're going to get 3 still. Maybe you do, maybe because you need the 3 to reliably be able to send the Incarn off somewhere. But I'm sure people will try. I'm sure the place I would start out with Eldar is immediately try and play exactly the same list and see how different it is, because
That's often the way.
Eldari have basically had a lot of little cuts.
Yeah, and
And it's
cuts
like,
to the rules rather than the points. Really, the points only got tapped very gently.
yeah, like it's like how to the overall picture, one in which Necrons are going to potentially reign supreme, and Eldar hate Necrons. I mean, we've tested
Yeah.
this matchup a lot, and it is rough for
It's bad.
Eldar.
It's not good.
Everyone's got Necrons. Like, you're going to see Necrons everywhere. And so, do you really want to take an Eldar, which is potentially going to struggle into Necrons in a singles event? I'm
Yeah.
not sure you are. So I could definitely see the playing of Eldar dropping off just because of how many Necrons there are. I mean, from what I've heard, like Eldar, people like European teams and that, like WTC teams, been playing a lot of Eldar just with like no night spinners or no avatars and that
Yeah.
sort of thing, just to get a vibe for them, and still doing really, really well. I mean,
Yeah. It's been fine.
the ITT coming up, we've got Liam VSL, one of the best players in the world. He's taking Eldar, and he's got Harlequins in there. He's got all sorts, and I think, I mean, the triple spinner build is probably dead, but there's still definitely room for a nice spinner in this. I would still have one in my list personally.
Absolutely.
Nearly there for all you Eldar haters. So Incarn now only teleports once per turn, and not only per turn, only in your turn. So the big thing here is obviously what would quite often would happen is your opponent would kill something in their turn, and then you go right, or maybe in combat, right, Incarn's over there, and they're going to cause a load of carnage. That doesn't work anymore. Basically, the way you're going to move your Incarn around is shoot something, kill it, Incarn goes to that space. So that is obviously, it means it's less of a headache for your opponent. Hey, maybe decannons come back because you need to try and kill stuff.
I think decannons have always been pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, they
Still
just
great.
Yeah, maybe they are now finally hitting points of efficiency. And then the other thing was that obviously, and it doesn't so much come up in like training games and stuff, because you always get that your opponent take it back, don't you, Ed? But when you're playing,
I'm not on screen.
when
You are. Your connection's a bit funky, so sometimes it doesn't think you are, but you are.
when you're playing a tournament game, your opponent might well forget about the Incarn and then shoot in the wrong order, kill something, and the Incarn then teleports away to safety, and your opponent's like, no. Well, that's not a fear anymore. They can't make that mistake. Obviously, at a higher level, players go, oh, there's the Incarn. I'm going to line up everything to the Incarn and shoot the Incarn first, and then I don't have to worry about anything else. So that's, it wasn't such a big deal, but it's just another little nail in the coffin for the Incarn. I mean, it's not exactly a hard switch to go straight over to the Avatar, which is still a beast. But maybe, I mean, Ed, you're saying earlier you might well be thinking people are going to be using Avatar and Incarn.
Yeah.
Especially now that if you're not going to run a Wraith Guard, you're going to run just the second Avatar instead.
Yeah, for sure. It's still got a way to go, I think, this index. It's a very powerful thing. It can do all sorts of stuff, but it's taking more hits on the rules.
So if they're not planning on releasing the Codex for the Codex Eldari for like another year and a half,
I don't think it will be for a while.
you've got to give them something to play with, right? Can't just annihilate everything.
No, exactly.
The final thing for Eldar is the Wraith Guard. Also, we've spoken a bit about how Phantasm hits them. One of their other abilities, which started off as this was a pistol unit, so you could, which was hilarious. So it was obviously if you get shot, you can shoot elsewhere, which meant that trying to line up shots into the Wraith Guard, even if they weren't going to be Phantasming, was really tricky because they could line up. Let's say you line up 3 units. They shoot your Wraith Guard. Your Wraith Guard go, oh no, I've lost one model. Well, these 5 are going to shoot over there. These 4 are going to shoot over there. And now those 2 other units are about to shoot me are dead. whereas now you can only target the unit that's shooting at you. Wraithguard have only got an 18-inch range. Even if they phantasm, we don't know if that's going to be 6 or is it actually only going to be 1. And so that means it's obviously a much fairer ability. But with this unit also getting a points rise, it's hard to see that running a single block of 10 is perhaps the best way of running an Eldar.
Yeah. 10 could control effectively half a board on their own, and now they don't do that as well. And they actually might die. At which stage you think, is it MSU time for the Eldar and move your emphasis elsewhere? But we'll be finding out before very long. Welcome, Patrick. Nice to have you here. Clever Invective's also in. Hello. Clever Invective says good riddance. There's a lot of sympathy here for the elves. Yeah, I mean, just get elf rules a little bit better on the money the first time, and then you don't have to hack them up like this, I think. But
also, rumours of the elf demise are greatly exaggerated. So
as an Eldar player, I don't remotely feel worried about this.
No, I think it's as has been the case for the last 3 slates. Eldar have come off lighter than a lot of the armies around them.
Yeah, I don't think this is. If you're a dedicated Eldar player who's good with the army, I think you will carry on being almost just as effective as you are already. For me personally, I'm just a bit bored of playing Eldar at the moment.
I think a lot of people are.
I know, like I haven't played them for 2 months, and I played them on Saturday, and it was just, this is the same stuff again. Maybe I need to try out some different things, but yeah, for me, it's just a bit.
I think the death of the Wraithguard build helps with that.
Yeah, absolutely. But as I say, if you're a competitive Eldar player, unless you're really good, a main issue for you might be the wealth of Necrons out there.
Yeah.
And
so if your incentive for running Eldar was that you'd beat everybody, you no longer do. So you'll need to find something else if that's what you're interested in.
Or get good scrub.
Much easier just to swap factions.
Astra Militarum, nothing in here is worth talking about. On we move.
The orders is nice.
It's over. It's over, Ed. Let it go. Blood Angels. Well. Blood Angels get +2 strength on the charge and +1 attack. In Sons of Sanguinius specifically. It's a thing.
What was it previously?
+1 strength, +1 attack.
Is that a good break point?
Strength 10 power fist. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Strength 6 chain swords, pretty good. I think Sons of Sanguinius just doesn't have the same cool tools that some of the other Marine ones have. And people don't. It's melee damage. To be honest, was never a problem. It was good at melee damage the whole time. The issue was that, can I teleport up and down? Can I advance and charge? Can I get all of these different things? And I think that's the main issue that Sons of Sanguinius have. But I'll be interested to see. Maybe there's like a mass assault intercessors list that can just, absolutely spam strength 6 attacks.
Well, we know that chainswords are the answer, aren't they?
Yeah,
one more chainswords. So.
Yeah. Patrick says, any ideas why GW hasn't come down harder on Eldari? I think it's the long-term health of the rule set there.
They're getting close to getting it right.
They are zeroing in on it. They have changed them a lot here. This is a lot of hits, but it's not like putting you in the ground hits.
It's just death by 1,000 cuts, but is it actually, are they good enough?
It doesn't. I don't think it's getting a book for a long time. CSM, which we'll talk about in a bit, they've got a book in like months, so nothing that's happening right now really matters. It's almost immaterial. Whereas I think for Eldar and probably for Drukhari, I think they're both a lot further down the line, which is why they're getting treatment. Or GW just likes elves more. You can decide. It could be either of those.
That has been the narrative for a long time.
That has been the narrative for a long time.
As long as I've played Warhammer.
35 years of elf love.
Okay, not that long.
Simon Harris says, I'm underselling the guard change. I absolutely am. That's exactly what I did. I undersold it and I moved on. I'm very sorry. I do think the orders thing is cool. It's just not necessarily an army I'm that savvy with. We've got quite spicy change for demons.
Yeah.
Which is demonic pacts, which is basically, if you're allying in demons to other things, Chaos Knights, Death Guard, CSM, for each battle line, each non-battle line unit you take, you have to have one that's battle line, and it has to map to the particular god. So if you're taking Sylesk in CSM, you have to have Demonettes. If you're taking the Changeling, you have to have Horrors, these kinds of things. So I think this is a bit of a protection for demons. This is going to help them avoid being in that situation where they're just a grab bag for other factions, and then those units get adjusted, which then hurts demons and round you go.
It's a very clever way of dealing with the problem.
Yeah. I don't think it's actually going to stop demons being a grab bag people go to, because the other thing they've done with demons is make all their units cheap.
Yeah. Oh, I have to take this really good unit. Oh no.
But it helps. Personally, I think for comp play, just say no demon allies. That would help. Save it for Crusade. Franco says best change in the slate. Yeah, it's certainly very good. It's certainly very, very good. Hello, Philip Waghorn, and welcome. Hello, Super Strudel 3.
Oh, no.
And Super Strudel says,
What a
dare I say
name.
Dread Knights might make an appearance off the shelf? Yes, they will. They're real good. They look fun. Right, let's do Chaos Space Marines. I hope you're listening, Lee, wherever you are. Chaos Space Marines have taken a hit with the Naughty Hammer.
Don't talk with your mouth full, boy. What are you doing?
I'm eating. So, marks of Chaos rules have changed. You can only get in a transport if you have the same mark. Pretty basic change, but it means Nurgle Rhinos have to carry Nurgle units.
As it should have been.
It should have always been that way.
Yeah, absolutely should. So Lee was sharing a list earlier on that had Plague Marines in it. And so CSM players, if you want a top tip, Plague Marines could go in Nurgle Rhinos just fine and you still get the same effect. So that is not bad at all. Dark Obscuration changes to 18 away. Votan really liked this. Votan really, really liked this. Because they're only 18-inch range anyway. So that helps a little bit with waddling into range of different things. I think I'd have probably preferred to see this just apply only to infantry and not vehicles, rather than have the range of it change. 18-inch lone op is a funny thing. It sometimes feels completely irrelevant. CSM players are bitching and moaning in the chat, which is nice. We've got Jack crying. Everybody else, yeah, there's a lot of general salt and tears here. And we have Profane Zeal. So this has changed, so it's only reroll wounds. And it's Chaos Undivided specifically. So, I mean, this is still great. This is still really powerful on a whole bunch of things. Combos with your dev wounds in all sorts of horrible ways. A little bit less insane on pure output, because you're not going to be able to trigger your sustain hits quite as gleefully as you were doing before.
Yeah. Being able to just have... when your army can just hand out sustained and lethal hits for free, for no cost, maybe don't give them full reroll wounds. Hits, sorry, on like for
and,
a CP.
And wounds.
And wounds, yeah. Like,
yeah.
one CP for wounds
on CSM
already.
units is just bonkers. Still bonkers. Still incredibly powerful. It's still really, really good. And then Accursed Cultists have taken a bit of a hit here as well.
Oh, shame.
It's a real shame. It's a real shame.
Heartbreaking.
The Tar Pit unit, they're OC1. They only regen in your command phase. And they obviously ate a bit of a points hit as well. So that is significant. I think Accursed Tar Pit was obviously a big part of how the army was functioning in recent times. But
They won the World Championships, right?
Yeah, exactly. Realistically, it's been beating anything that tries to challenge it in serious top-level play for the last 3 months. And actually, I don't think any top player would tell you anything they were running expected to consistently beat it. So changing it is a good thing. I think that's a very good thing. I think CSM are still excellent. I think they've taken some hits, and they didn't get any buffs, but I think it's an incredibly powerful set of rules.
The Khorne Lord of Skulls.
Oh, sorry, yeah, there is
points,
the Khorne Lord of Skulls.
Hello.
Now you can run 3 of them and not feel bad about it.
Over in Chaos Land elsewhere.
We don't have infinite grenades.
Yeah, no infinite grenades, which is a shame because that was funny. And I do love the model on the Biologist Putrefier. It's probably still good to have a few of them kicking about just for double tapping grenades at key moments. I think for them that's still a big form of hard target removal. But it hurts the you're not just wanting an incarn with 3 little guys with smelly vials. That's not how it's going.
As it should be.
Yeah. Ooh, Drakari, lovely. So what happened for Drakari? Power from Pain now boosts your AP by 1 in combat. So this, to be honest, this gets Drakari units hitting in combat about as hard as they probably should be anyway. So it's nice. It's certainly good. It's a nice thing to have. And the Archon can also now lead Incubi. This is very nice.
His bodyguard can actually be led by him.
They are his natural bodyguard. That's who they're supposed to be. He can't combo with the court, it's just him and Incubi, but the key thing with that is that you get Incubi who reroll hits and reroll wounds, which is very punchy, coming in at AP3. And we'll come to a bit later, but there's a detachment for Drakari where that gets even more relevant. So, yeah, Incubi can actually kill things, which is a nice thing, a nice start point. I still think it's a sale. I was talking about this before going on the show. I still think Drakari players are going to find this a lot harder The landscape has changed quite dramatically. There's a lot of fight on death out there. There's a lot of Overwatch. There's a lot of things that make trying to deliver one wound T3 models much more precarious these days. But you will at least kill some things when you connect, which is great. Grey Knights. So, look at these new Psy cannons.
So basically, what they've gone from AP1 to AP2, ignoring cover,
Which is effectively a 2 AP boost.
Yeah.
On a strength 10, damage 3 gun.
Because Grey Knights, obviously, one of the main issues is killing big stuff.
Yep.
And now what they've done is they've made that gun a lot nicer,
Yep.
and the weapon skill in combat of these advancing and charging things far more consistent.
Yep. If you're thinking about this in conjunction with the buffs to Drukhari, this is a huge problem for Drukhari, because Dread Knights absolutely ruin Drukhari vehicles, and they can jump up and down and pick their angles. And this buff coming in at the same time as Drukhari is probably good news for the overall state of the meta, because Grey Knights are an army that Drukhari absolutely hate, and these guns are now putting Drukhari vehicles on their 6-up invuln, which is not what they want at all. So yeah, Dread Knight stock's very high.
How many wounds are Drukhari? Venom?
Well, a Venom, Chris, is 6.
That's divisible by 3.
Yeah.
Quite nicely.
And a Raider is, I think, 10. But long and short of it is, if you get demet really quickly by Grey Knights, you're going to cry. And they'll do that. They'll absolutely do that.
Because before this, Grey Knights essentially was just bolters, right?
Their shooting's been pretty negligible outside of librarians, but this gives them a bit more flexibility, I think, in build. People will try this because people have 6 of them on shelves.
Some people are just going to go immediately into 6 Dread Knights, and then we're going to see if it works.
Yeah.
I don't know how many points that is.
200 for the Grandmaster, 160 question mark for the normal one.
Yeah, so the little cheap one feels the way.
160, if it is 160. The basic model advances or falls back and charges, which is quite nice to have on a murder machine.
We've been on a fun journey with Grey Knights because it's like the rule set is so good, and we've basically been on a journey to find out what do we need to do to get this to a point where it's insufferable, and we're just taking another step along that journey. This is just another step along that journey today. I don't know if we're there yet, but we're not far off. We're getting there. We're closing in on how do we make an incredibly uninteractive, awful, disastrous army that destroys everybody from a distance and teleports around.
But that's it, isn't it? It's the fact that you can make these guys unbelievably good in combat, but they're still, because they're doing a lot of teleporting around, that does therefore lead to a lot of like that 9-inch charge type thing. So when you start buffing the shooting aspect of it, like the heavy side cannon, 6 of those guys just dropping down and blapping out 36 damage 3 shots at minus 2 AP, like that's going to hurt quite a few things.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's you're 100% going to see over the next few weeks people running anywhere between 3 and 6 of these, just because we want to find out. It'd be a great chance to use it on TTS.
Yeah, it's definitely got some juice, and that's one of the armies actually that I don't think people were necessarily expecting to get a real quality of life change. But here it is. I think it's quite exciting.
Yeah, I think it's so crazy, isn't it? All they've done is put ignores cover and an extra AP on one gun, and suddenly we're talking about Grey Knights again.
It's the same for Drukhari, right? It just takes a bit of AP here and there, and suddenly you hit
the melee as well. Like the melee was so bad when it was weapons.
Hit on 4s, right?
Yeah,
that is crazy.
So stupid.
Imperial Knights.
Still shit. I don't know, actually, no idea.
We're not really Knights players in this house. John sold his Knights.
I've still got half of them.
I was going to say, he's trying to sell his Knights. If you're on the WhatsApp group for UK buy-sell and you constantly see Scriven, John Scriven, he's the one trying to sell Knights. So if you want Knights.
I've sold...
They've already changed this rule a couple of times, right? They've already swung in and out of, is it a hit roll, is it a wound roll, is it both? Now they've gone back to both.
It's because they wrote it really poorly.
Yeah.
And I think if they hadn't been so fucking powerful on launch, you would have seen them have reroll 1s to hit and wound.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was intended to be. But then they walked that back because they were just so omnipresent. And now they've gone, you can just have a hit reroll and a wound reroll. I think this is better. Like all your high value stuff, 1 hit and wound reroll is just good.
Clever Invective says, I have IKs. Clever Invective, I'd actually love to hear your take on the changes to Imperial Knights in this slate. Do you think it's done enough for them? How are you feeling about them? Are you excited to play them? Has it given them a bit of juice? Or does it not change enough? Please let us know, because I sure as hell don't know.
The challenge is you look at, even with the points drops, them compared to their Chaos Brethren, the rule set is just still notably stronger for them, and they've got more options.
As long as one of them has running through walls, that's always going to be
exactly.
Just always going to be the case. You can't have parity where one army has that and the other one doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's always the choice. You end up having to do I pretend to have spikes on these guys and use them in the better rule set, or do I use them without spikes?
Completely.
With spikes.
Spikes are the way. Yeah. So these are fun. So Space Wolves, Sagas, end of player turn, choosing your Sagas. A little bit more flexibility, right?
So you can also achieve 2 Sagas a battle round, because you can achieve one in your turn, one out.
Turn.
Yeah, and it's key to note that you pick the Saga after you've played out the turn, so you achieve them and then you say, oh, I've done the Saga, give me this buff. Here's the thing, it's dog shit. You could have good rules without having to fucking jump through hoops and getting them on turn 4 of the game.
There's nothing worse, right, than having someone say, I'm going to do this thing, and you go, I don't think you're going to do it, mate. And then you do all your defensive stuff to make it impossible, and then they're like, cool, I've not done my thing, cool. Glad we played this game.
Ed thinks it's bad Space Wolf players, so go out there and change his mind.
Hey man, some of the Space Wolf units got nerfed, so just do what every other fucking Marine player does and play them in the base data.
Stormlance those Thunderwolves.
Wolfen certainly got that. Yeah.
Oh, I lost to that hard. It is surprisingly good, and I really reconsidered whether that was playable on UKTC after losing to it on UKTC. So. Yeah, if you think I'm wrong, come and play me at a tournament and beat me.
Clever Invective says, for Imperial Knights, minor changes, but decent. Should be able to get 1 or 2 extra bodies on the table, maybe an extra enhancement too. That's no bad thing. Given they're a bit more wedded to the big knights, I guess creeping another armature in there is good news. World Eaters. Chris, what do you think about this, mate?
Devastating. I think, so obviously the Master of Executions was kind of attached to some Berserkers, had the fight first. So it was difficult to charge. But the main thing was the fact that when this unit charged in, this Master of Execution, and this unit's getting reroll hit and wound rolls into a character-led unit. But most importantly, it got plus D3 attacks and damage. So it meant that when it went off, you were coming in with 5, 6, 9 attacks, which would damage 5. With re-rolling hits and wounds and devastating wounds. And because of the way it works, that was 5, that was 3, that was actually 4 damage into the Incarn, Catan, Avatars, that sort of thing. So it's a really powerful ability, and now it's just add 1 to the attacks and damage. So that is sad times. And on top of that, I think he's gone up in points as well.
He has.
World Eaters have had a few points rises, so that I don't know if it's. I assume it's not. I assume it's too many, so that the 1975 doesn't become 2000. I assume it's like 2050 now or something. I don't know quite.
I think it's even a bit more than that potentially.
Yeah. So things like 8-bound Khan went up and that sort of thing.
And they've killed off the Jackal spam with the 4-up in one from the Demon Prince.
Yeah, the Demon Prince
to 5-up instead,
which was bad anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a weird teams list.
It was a teams list.
Pardon me.
Horrible list to run and play into. So
yeah, exactly.
Nah, not today. And then the other thing is that the enhancement, which is where you get to re-roll your dice. When you do a best, so obviously you do that at the start of the battle round, but you could also spend a CP whenever you killed a unit. You could use that, and that would be a way of trying to get Angron back. So you roll your dice.
Fuck Angron.
Boom.
All my homies hate Angron.
Just keep rolling it, basically. And now it's only once a battle rather than potentially doing it 4 or 5 times over the course of a game.
Completely.
So basically. That Demon Prince thing is completely irrelevant, but apart from to one specific list. So they've like a quality of life thing, a quality of output thing, and then some of the points have gone up. So I think World Eaters they've taken a slight hit. It's not enough to bin them, but it's enough that you've got to be good.
Yeah, I think World Eaters were in a position that Thousand Suns were in when I was just starting to paint and collect mine before the last slate, which is that people were very, very conscious that they were good, they could hang, and people had an eye on them for after that. The competitors around them got nerfed, and GW has identified that and has kneecapped them before that can be the case, which I think is actually a very sensible approach. I think we don't want to just be jumping from one obvious thing to one obvious thing all the time. It jarred a bit when it happened with Thousand Suns, but they're clearly going to keep doing it. Yeah. The people that are making these changes now are very clued up on how good armies are. They talk to people who are very clued up on how good armies are, and World Eaters have been a very known entity amongst especially the team's international world in recent times. So it feels a bit jarring, but they are very good. If they're posting 55%, whatever it was, win rates in the meta as it currently was, then they are very good, because that's a meta with Eldar in, that's a meta with CSM in. So I think you do have to take those kinds of armies seriously.
Yeah, I think you take the fact that as a 5-man team event, you're taking pretty much, before Dataslet, you're taking CSM, Eldar, Necrons, Marines, and probably World Eaters.
Yeah.
So therefore, that is proof, right, that they are
exactly.
They're right.
They were very, very good, and I think they still are. I do think I'm sad about the Master of Executions because he was just fun, and I don't think he's just a guy attached to some Marine bodies at the end of the day. And although he was very damaging, I don't think he needed to necessarily eat a bullet there.
It's a good job there was no way to deliver him, like +2 to your movement and advance and charge on turn 1. Good job that wasn't ever a threat.
Yeah.
I suppose that these changes feel a bit more jarring, especially with the points for them, when they've got so few data sheets, that when the army gets kind of shaken up like that, it hurts more because you don't go, oh, I'll just pivot to these cheaper things I've got sat here that I've not been using.
It's the same for Votan, right? They've taken a few hits on their best units, and you're like, there's not like other stuff I can run.
It's not really, like Eldar, where they
I'll just have less stuff, and that's kind of it. So I do think it's harsh on them. They are a little bit of a one-trick pony, World Eaters, in that sense. So it's painful when it does take a hit, but I don't know. We'll see. All of this is especially tricky when Necrons are not changing at all. I think that's important context for this. I think were Necrons taking some hits at the same time as all of this, it would all feel a lot easier. But there's several of armies in here taking hits where you're like, they are one of the things that deals with Necrons. That's a little bit concerning. I do wonder if in singles the next few months might not be that exciting at the very top, but we'll see.
My expectation is that the Necron beef build, which I've been playing and I enjoy playing, isn't actually going to be all that good. I think it's going to be like a 4-1 Gatekeeper list. And I think the Necron list that will do well will continue to be like Hypercrypt, where you can just outplay your opponent, bring the units to bear, because you can beat walls of wraiths. You just bring precision. You can kill Catan, especially now we've seen ways to ignore damage modifiers. I don't know that if they're the top list, like when CSM and Eldar were like really a threat there as well, you weren't teching just for Necrons. Now if you're teching just for Necrons, every list is going to go, oh, so this is how I kill a Katana turn, this is how I kill the Wraith Brick, this is how I precision out the characters. I'm not sold that that'll be a valid way to play at the top end, but you know, you'll have monkeys piloting it to decent scores, I think is where it'll
definitely
be. It's like fucking Leviathan Warriors again.
Yeah. Sindri, by the way, has got a nice joke in the chat. The MOE can't kill God anymore, but he can probably still take down Jesus. I don't think a World Eater would want to kill Jesus. I think they could, bond over their shared difficult experiences with nails.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
So, where are we going next?
Points.
Do we have?
They do make prizes. I don't know if we have them on screen, but we
We
can.
don't have.
Oh, well, we don't need that. Let's just riff through some armies.
We've just
and
got
if
the
people
sheet.
shout out armies, we'll cover them. I'll start. Drakari. They got cheaper again. There's more Drakari. Raiders and Venoms went down 10 each. That's fun. Incubi went down 5. That's also fun. The Void Raven Bomber went up. That's really fun. I've got a lot of time for that because it's a silly, silly play.
I just don't understand why.
There's no reason.
Does it get a buff in the new detachment?
No. Well, no, I don't think so.
No.
No. And then the Succubus is only 45 points now. Still possibly not good.
You know it's bad when you're fucking super mobile character.
45.
45.
Hellions
What
went
did you do?
down.
I'm not playing
Still not good.
Yeah,
Reavers went down. Probably still not good. But the big change for Drakari is obviously the new Detachment, which I'm going to be covering. I'm making a video about that, which is going to go out tomorrow morning. That's the Sky Splinter Assault. It's very exciting, but it's very dudes in transports with stabby knives. That's the vibe. And it's extremely cool. And I think it's going to be a fun way to play the army. I think it's got some weaknesses, and I think it has some resource management issues that Real Space Raid doesn't have, because you've only got 3 tokens and you're not getting more via any additional generation, so you do need to be very careful. And I'm trying to work out if it's a detachment that wants to have good shooting, or if you just go, here's the stuff, and you run all the stuff in. But I don't see this becoming a top of the meta thing, because there's just so many different things out there that really ruin Drakari. But it's a lot of fun. It looks really fun.
Are the points changes, like how much extra stuff are you getting now in the Drakari?
60, 70 points. It's not radical. They already have a lot of stuff.
Because we spoke about this, didn't we? Yeah. Like, if they fix Drakari by just giving you an extra 200 points of stuff, it's just going to be horrendous for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they've overdone it on the points front. I think
just give them cool rules.
Yeah, I think the cool rules, the exciting rules for combat is definitely the best thing. And it's just going to be slowly figuring that out and where it sits. Harley asked, do we think 6 Dread Knights is viable?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Baseline, yeah.
How many things can Grey Knights jump up and down a turn?
3.
So probably not more than 3. Would be how I would feel, potentially.
Or you could just run 6, advance and charge 3 of them, and teleport the 3 that don't get to advance and charge.
Yeah, fair enough. That sounds fun as well.
Mists, you've got Mist, you've got the Lone Op, you've got Rapid Ingress and then back down.
I think with how many points the rest of their bricks cost, I might think you'd see 5, possibly 4, but I'd expect to see 5.
I think you just need more. You're still in stuff, right? Yeah. And 6 is going to come to, I don't know, like 1,000, 1,100.
1,165, I think.
Yeah, so, I mean, in terms, I don't know how many stripes and interceptors that buys you, but you're still going to need points to go and do stuff. I mean, for example, I wouldn't imagine 6 Dread Knights and 10 Paladins and 10 Terminators being a thing.
No, I don't think Terminators.
It's not enough stuff.
You're not going to have enough stuff, yeah. What army do you want to cover next, boys? Just rattle through
it.
Stodies, go on then. Tell us what's going on.
So your bodies all took 5 points cuts. That's your Alaris, your Guard, your Wardens, and your Virtus Praetors. That's really good. It's just really good. Like, you didn't need an additional squad of 3 dudes, but you can fit them in. So cool. Obviously, the rules changes are good for them as well. Shield cap as well. So the shield caps on Jet Bike was 180. And the Virtus Praetors were 160. And they now come in at 290 points for a squad of 2 models plus a character. And you probably haven't looked at the datasheet because, I mean, why would you? But once per game, you get to make a normal move at the end of your opponent's fight phase. Yes. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that with bikes. Like, oh, would I like to charge you somewhere that you can't stop me from doing so? Yeah, I think so. Oh, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a good time, but not least because they sit in a nice spot in the meta at the moment. I think they had decent gaming to CSM and Necrons. Now they're better.
Oh, and they fucking kill Necrons. So Alaris Terminators, first of all, put a character in their precision out the Technomancer. Jobs are good, cool. But they have give them the flat 3 damage axes because the things that was bad against are dead. Goodbye, Deathwing Terminators with your 2-up save. How many other things are there in the meta with a 2-up save? Not actually that many. There are
very
some.
Nice.
Yeah, but like, I'm just going to beat them anyway. Like, what are they going to do?
Why not? Just beat them.
They're welcome to shoot me.
Storm bodies, yeah.
Well, those Psy cannons.
My 4 wound Terminators and bikes probably won't care about 3 wounds. It's not super effective. My point is that Grey Knights have gone from like down here to up here, and Custodians have gone from here to up here. So I'm not super.
This is everyone's opinion, and I don't fully conceptualize it yet. I think they're good. I definitely think they're good. I'm confused why we've decided they're inheriting the entire Earth based on 100 points and a shrug against more wounds.
So I think the things that they're bad against, they are no longer bad against, and the things that they're good against, such as Necrons, they will just fucking steamroll.
In a sort of top level thinking about 4 or 5 armies at once. So I agree, and I think we need to see There's a lot of guns out there that they still have to get around,
That's
certainly in the UK scene. But be interested.
MSU take 2 blade champs who give advance and charge to the unit they're in, and take a squad of bikes. Suddenly, you've got a really fast army when you wouldn't necessarily have one in previous editions.
For sure. Matthew Williams says, great job on the show, guys. Thank you, Matthew. We're doing our best with our sickly, tired brains. We're doing what we can. And then there's a little bit of chatter about Deathwatch. Deathwatch, as far as I saw, didn't change much.
They did get nerfed massively. If you were going to run them as Deathwatch, I think you were probably wanting to run 15 to 18 Inceptors.
So Inceptors getting
that's gone up. So that's where I see
Centurions as well. So you've lost enough points here.
Yeah, they went after the Vanguard Marine units pretty hard, didn't they?
Yeah, which I think was the right approach and the right level. So everything was
good.
10s. Like when we were chatting about it before, I was like, if it's anything more than this, I feel you're just burying Space Marines because without pushing some other stuff. But the one I thought was interesting is Stern Guard have gone down 10 points.
Yes,
and they're about to be horrible everywhere in beige armor. I'm predicting now.
Okay.
The squad the Asriel joins, basically.
Yeah.
We're
going to see it.
I like Stone Guard. We were hot on them when the edition first dropped, and they've not done anything.
We remember the first time we looked through it and we were having a chat and we were like, it's going to be 30 Desolation Runes and 30 Stern Guard and the opponent's dead turn 1.
Keep in mind, they did get nerfed. They used to have dev wounds in an unpleasant way.
That's what we were...
And Deathwatch, Stern Guard
no one ever did it.
Pleasant.
No.
Well, because they got nerfed very quickly.
Yeah. And the Whirlwind got buried by 35 points. So it's now on 180, which is where it needs to be. So if I was building a list now, I think I could stretch to 2. I definitely couldn't justify 3 now.
That was quite a general tap that artillery across the board had, I think. Except the Achilles Ridge Runner managed to dodge it. Manticores went up like 20, I think.
I don't think a Basilisk went up at all.
No.
Basilisk hasn't been like an auto shove, has it, in the same way?
But now maybe you put it in instead of the Manticore.
Yeah. Philip Waghorn says Tyrannid's got some nice point buffs. Yeah, I mean, Davey will cover this in depth, I have no doubt, because he loves his Tyrannids, but Tyrannifex went down, that's a big deal. Screamer Killer got cheaper, which is cool. Gargoyles went up a little bit, which is good, because they were everything was using Gargoyles all the time, so they were obviously a little bit too good. There were a few nice other little tweaks here and there, some of the monsters, and Pure Strains and the Broodlord got cheaper as well. It's a cool book in a good spot.
Yeah, Norn went down, didn't it?
Norns are now touching where a Catan is, and still not as good, so that's maybe not indicative of the strength of the Tyrannid book and more the Necron one, but...
Orcs was an interesting one. Trucks went up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, like little bit.
We got to talk about Orcs.
Yeah,
No. That's not it at all, because when's the new Orc book coming? In the next 2 months. What's going to be in there? There's going to be a shooting vehicle detachment module.
And I'm so fucking ready. Down, Ed? I was waiting to say this.
Shock Jump Dragster, Rucker Drug Buggies, Killer Cans, Kill Rig, Hunter Rig, Battle Wagon, Snaz Wagon, Scrap Jet.
All cheaper.
Oh, you know what didn't go up? Flash Kits.
I think only Knobs and Squighogs maybe took like a 5 point. That was it. So it's a net. It's a net gain. It's a net gain for them. I think
right now it's a nerf. In 2 months' time, beautiful.
I have 12 killer cans. I can field them for less points now, so that's fun.
I've only got 6, and I'm an Orcs previous.
I know you're an actual. I'm distracted by Jakari now. Anyway, I don't want to play with Orcs right now. But the kill rig. When do we hit triple kill rig time? How cheap does it have to get?
170 points.
9th edition. 170 is cheap. You can fill a lot of beast snaggers in those things. I
think I might have to try it again.
20 dudes in a month.
Moving it around.
It's a lot of dudes. But it is just moving it around and not getting blocked in. That's quite difficult.
Marines, we vaguely mentioned, but all the stuff you don't want to take got 5 point buffs. I'm talking Infernus, Intercessors, Heavy Intercessors, Outriders. Outriders actually got a 15 point buff. That is interesting because we might see them with Dark Angels.
Yes.
So there's something to be done there.
Yeah.
Then things that you did see play, Centurions went up 20 points, I think it was. Inceptors went up 20 points for 3.
Centurions was 10.
20 points for the full squad of 6. Redemptor went up in points, which is understandable because you were seeing 3 in like lots of lists.
Yeah, there were plenty of lists
that
did lean on triple Redemptor.
Yeah, I don't love it though because I don't think it's inherently a problem. It's just a bit of a crutch.
It was a
Yeah.
skew list. Like the Ironstorm list I've got for this weekend has taken 195 points of nerfs because it
Get
is
fucked.
all the bullshit, and it makes sense. But
So
it's
picked
only
up
in
there.
this sort of format. I wouldn't take it in like a singles environment personally, but it then becomes, is that even viable for teams now? That's a shame, but there's always something else, I'm sure.
Scouts go up to 65, which is probably
It's where they
maybe
need- they
still
need
too
to-
low.
Yeah.
Start of a journey towards the price they should have been at release.
Yeah, but still very, very good.
Yeah. But what they have done, though, by bringing them up a little bit, they've then brought down Assault Intercessors are now 75, so there's not too much of a disparity, because before it was like, you had your 55-point Scouts, and then everything else was like 85 to 100. You're like, I can't even justify squeezing something else in, because you have to take a whole other thing out to squeeze it in. So they get into that path where you can actually have those conversations about a quick switch.
Now the only disparity is having good rules on the datasheet, so neat.
Simon Harris says the Redemptor problem is that a Redemptor in Ironstorm is a very different beast to a Redemptor elsewhere. Yeah, that is the fundamental problem with layers of rules on top of units, and that is very much the life we have chosen with detachments. That's just going to be something that happens over and over and over again. And Marines suffer worse from this than most because their stuff can be used in so many different ways that it's always going to be getting in trouble for something being done in one place.
Sisters of Battle, overall a points buff.
Yes.
First of all, the Exorcist goes up in points. People are going to stop running them. Their armies are going to get better. This is great news for Sisters players and their win rate. Good stuff there. Arco-Flagellants went up 20 points for a brick of 10. I think you could still run 30 of them and not even care.
I completely agree.
Still so cheap.
They're exactly worth those points.
The
Val still gets you twice as many wounds as an aberrant brick for pretty much the same points.
Yep. Val went up 20 points. Paragon Warsons went down 30, so that's a net 10 points in your favour if you're playing that, which I think is a good unit.
Could you run them on their own as well? Is that enough
you
for little solo squads? But I mean, Val's rerolls are what get them there, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, though. Like, maybe there's a list where you take 3 units of 3 and you start from there.
Yeah.
It's just nice.
Going down.
Yeah, Zephyr, the cheap scoring stuff, Zephyr going down. Repentia, now that Arco-Flagellants have gone up a little bit, maybe you see people looking to run them instead. I don't think we will until we see Bloody Rose, but, yeah, whatever. I think Sisters changes are good.
They're still solid, yeah. And some of the things they had to struggle into are weaker now, which helps them massively.
And I think the bottom end will stop writing lists that are just actively bad as much as well. This will help push people into more
ultimately
directions.
If you're not hunting Night Spinners, you don't need Exorcists, and then you suddenly just have so much more mission play.
Yeah, all for
and
the
then
mirror.
You can play really cheap tradey in a way that they'd be very good at. Cool, I think we've covered most of the ones. So for GSC, guys, you got 10 points off of Pure Strain Gene Sealers.
Oh,
and
wow.
that is it. That is all they got. So they're in a bad way. The army is incredibly lopsided. They benefit from stuff around them getting a bit weaker as well, but it's just a bit out of ideas.
They're a couple of months off a book, right? So
that's it. There's a book down the line. There's a few where I think that's when the real change will come. But certainly, slightly cheaper Pure Strange isn't gonna revive someone's interest in playing GSC right now.
No.
Right,
Big Boy Demons is probably the one big change that we've
Demons got
really.
massive drops. Yeah, Scarbrand going down to 40 is very fun. A bit of that
Lee
trapping
Jones
energy.
Lee
Jones is hugely excited, which I'm delighted for because that's what he really wants to play. He loves demons.
Yes.
He's very excited about Sinesh demons. They got cheaper. I've seen people very excited about Nurgle demons. They got cheaper. The truth is, they all got cheaper. It's all very cheap.
Green. It's all
There's
green.
a bunch of stuff that went down. Demons have good rules. They have. Are they going to hit critical mass now? Quite possibly. It'd be very interesting to see. I like that the monsters are cheaper because it's in a good place when you want lists where there's a bit of the monsters and a bit of the infantry and not feeling forced to skew in one direction or the other. Feel like this might hit that. Rotigus meta inbound. The greater demons for Nurgle are very, very, very cheap. Jack says he reckons GSC are really strong if you have weighted dice for your resurrection rules. Yeah, that would be 100% true. If you were cheating, they would be better.
That's why all the Necrons players are doing really well.
Yeah. And Franco is very happy, Simon Harris, and I think that's it's nice when something he's been slaving away on gets the sort of the weights lifted off it a bit, so he can roam free. I think he'll enjoy that.
Because previously the big boy list didn't quite have the extra stuff around it. If you were taking sort of 3 or 4 big demons,
Yeah.
you didn't really have the scoring stuff as well, so you had to rely on them doing the job and then scoring at the same time, which just it either worked or it didn't. So it's nice that they're getting something there.
Yeah, they were very dominant, weren't they? End of 9th.
I was going to say, a lot of people will have demon army.
Oh, all that stuff will be out there, and it's got that get the jump on you in the middle of no man's land when you're not.
So what wins out of Necrons and demons? What's that match?
Blood Crushers with damage 5.
Which the shadow thing.
I feel like that would probably do it, wouldn't
if
it?
demons smash Necrons and Necrons are the top, then does that mean that demons are our new overlords?
Probably not.
No, I don't
Power
think
Matrix are a shadow of the warp. It's like
there's so many armies that can jump up and down around each other now that I don't know which one of them's going to do it best.
It's Spider-Man memes. They're like, no, you jump first. No, you jump first.
Yeah. Oh, for Votan, Votan got points rises on the Sagittar, which a couple of people have mentioned to me is something that should happen. So apparently the Sagittar is good, and it now costs 115, and then Hearthguard went up a little bit. And Thunderkin went up 10, so they're back to their original costs. And I think that's all entirely reasonable. I think a Votan list gains about 100 points. I think they benefit a lot from changes elsewhere to other armies, and getting Grim Demeanor to ignore AP and damage reduction is actually massive for them, because that's something that really, really hurts them in terms of their output. So maybe you run a couple of forts, slightly less Sagittars, and sort of mix those points around a bit. Thunderkin, I think, always really struggling to justify their place anyway. So maybe this pushes them out. I don't know, but I think they're still solid. They're just run of the mill solid. They don't have all of the cool rules that some of the armies have, but they shoot hard and they play the mission well, so they'll be just fine.
I think there's a risk we see less vehicles as well coming up, so they immediately lose a bit of relevancy there.
Mm-hmm.
So
why do you think that?
Well, demons, they're monsters. Necrons, they're monsters. And a lot of the other stuff, bits and pieces, I think I'm looking to see.
Custodians come out of the
melee infantry. I'm interested to see as well. So I'm not sure how many vehicles we'll see. The Dreadnought castles as well getting a nerf. Space Marines taking up a big chunk of the meta. I wouldn't be surprised if we see less vehicles at first blush anyway.
Well, my Raiders and Venoms don't like the sound of that at all. That's the only trick we've got.
That is true.
How did Tau get hit here?
Riptide's cheaper.
Everything that isn't relevant got cheaper, and by that I mean the two characters that aren't the one that give you the flat advance, and the Riptide went down and the Crisis Brick went up. So yeah,
it's if your Crisis heavy, you've taken a hit. The rest is being incentivized. Gordon Chung says, and welcome, Gordon, says Votan taking a net nerf is going to help Crons. Yep, you're completely right. Votan 60% into them preset. Yeah, we played this at the weekend. Votan like Necrons. They enjoy Necrons.
It's a tactical masterclass of a game. I sat there and watched as Ed and Tom kicked 7 shades of shit out of each other.
Yeah.
If we'd been playing this, it's like two people sit down to play poker.
Yeah.
And they just drop the cards and just smack each other in the face. That is literally what it was like. Like, secondary is like, nah, I'm going.
I was playing Canoptic Court like it was Awakened Dynasty, and turns out that's not the way to play them.
And the Votan came out on that then.
Yeah,
I've only played aggressive armies recently. It's broken my brain.
They do have good tools for Necrons, and yeah, them taking a hit in Necrons not is good news for Necrons. I agree, but I think they've still got enough to hurt Necrons. I just think, especially with Grim Demeanor giving them a Catan dropping unit. Catan don't want to play with a Hammer Champion gang whose damage reduction is not halved. That's a big deal for a Catan. So we'll see. I think, my assumption with singles is just that Necrons are going to be a bit too good for a few months, and we'll just have to deal with that. I think that's an unfortunate side effect of dealing with, likewise for Abmec, with them being a bit weaker. I just think that's where we're likely to be for a little while, which is a shame, but it is.
I also think
probably better not to knee-jerk on changes
for singles as well. Yes. The Doomstalkers are a hell of a drug. I'll give you that, Chris.
Yeah, I finally got Ed to try some.
Those in Canoptech were terrifying. I was getting absolutely murdered. God, it was such a fun game.
depending on what I want to do in singles, now that we've got all of the changes, I might try and brew up a full shooting list in Canoptek Court. That'd be interesting.
Do it.
Yeah.
Because you've got 3 Doomstalkers, which just have such consistency, don't
Beautiful
you?
thing.
Yeah. Problem is, I don't have any Doomstalkers, which is a bad place to start from if you're doing that. But I can arrange
2,
some.
and I've got a third in a box, so I'm more than happy to give it a whirl.
Right. We're going to rattle through some podcast questions, and then we're going to call it a night. If you do have any outstanding thoughts or questions on the slate, please shoot them in and we will endeavour to field them. Oh, David Gaylord says, I can send you 3. Hey, David, nice to meet you. Oh, look at this Ed, David Gaylord collaboration. They're good friends. Good little Necron.
Yeah.
You love to see it. Welcome, David. Really nice to have you here. We have got a few questions in the chat. So there's a merry Dataslate to those who celebrate as well. So merry Dataslate, everyone. Hannibal asks, UK players made up a lot of the top 10 ITC due to great players and a lot of big events. Do you think the current point system is right, or how would you change it?
Well, we play in the UK, so it's fantastic.
Yeah,
Next
exactly.
question.
It's fine. I think it's showing everything exactly the way it needs to be. Titchy asks, which 2 factions merged together would make the worst new faction?
Taldar.
That's been done. That was horrible.
I just can't unsee it.
I'm thinking back and I'm picturing some sort of hellish nightmare where if you take the best bits of the Eldari book and you fuse them with the Drakari book, maybe you call it like Yanari or something.
Nah.
Yeah,
That'll never catch on.
Never catch on.
It's lazy.
Worst combo. Do they mean worst as in least functional? I think that's a more fun way of thinking about it. Like, what would be the least effective team up?
Oh, Simon Harris, Admech and Knights. You've answered the question.
That's very good. That's very good. Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, because then no one would run Imperial Knights and you'd just play Chaos Knights. Anyway.
Yeah, you might take no. Canis Rex. Canis Rex is cool.
Yeah, I remember that being quite scary.
Yeah, he went up a lot of points. Sad times.
Next question which faction do you feel is least representative of its lore? This is from Sai.
It's got to be Custodes, right?
Yeah.
Because as if you'd send you'd have some sort of like border skirmish. No, there should be one of them.
Yeah,
like maybe 2.
Yeah.
Follow up Space Marines, same reason.
Space Marines, yeah, they always die a little bit easier in the game than they do in the books, don't they?
Right now, Tyranids, they're a terrifying, unstoppable threat. Right now, they're a not terrifying, stoppable threat. Emphasis put on every word there that isn't threat. So, probably that.
As in when Night Lords come out, they won't play like I want them to play either. I'll tell you that. So I then asked, on the mission Purge the Foe, what tricks are there to maximise primary without giving up primary? Or how can I trade up with my squishy T3 MSU bodies in a GT? Some armies just really don't like Purge the Foe, so it's really difficult for squishy armies.
It sounds like you're just thinking about it. Like, is it that big part? Like, the amount of times, like, if you're thinking about it as a points trade war, you might be putting something, I don't know, like, I'll put this 3rd unit into this corner for my 3rd investigate signals and I'll get an extra 2 points. Well, what are you trading for that 2 points? You're losing a resource and you're giving them, maybe in the worst case scenario, giving them 4 points for a kill and 4 points for a hold. For a kill more.
Exactly.
I think just actually, there's so many things to think about on every turn. What am I doing about my primary? What am I doing about their primary? What am I doing about my cards? But it's just an extra thing you do have to genuinely be considering in terms of like, well, how many kills am I? And I don't know how many. I know I personally don't do it that often, but you go into your turn and you have to be thinking, how many kills am I giving up in this battle round? How many kills am I going to be able to achieve in this battle round? And actually having that, because in no other mission is that a clear main thought to be having. But in here, it's so crucial to scoring, especially if the game's going to be close, that you have to be, that's an additional, like a tertiary thing almost to be considering. So when you move units out, be thinking, well, actually, is this good? Because I've played so many people who turn one, they've got first, and obviously going second's a big advantage here.
Yeah, if you can go second side, do it. It's great on Purge.
But go first and be like, I'm going to give them a move block or whatever. And it's like, okay, but you've also just given me 8 points. And I think, so maybe those infiltrators, maybe you don't stick them far up the board on this kind of. This feels really pointed at Ed. I played on Saturday, and this is literally what he did. But Ed did smash me in that game, so therefore it's fine.
100% right. I put all of my other really squishy units in reserve with the plan to not bring them on until all of Chris's non-line of sight and/or killing stuff was dead, and then I also just forward deployed a unit of flayed ones for no particular
reason.
reason.
Them straight at me.
Well, they were going to die no matter what.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want you to have your Khan tucked in somewhere as well. But not putting them in reserve was the plan. So basically, the answer is play a tanky army and put all of your scoring units in reserve, and then bring them in turn 3, or don't, and just give them 1 turn of kill more and say, they'll die. You're not going to piecemeal me here. That's not really good advice, but it is funny.
But if you don't also put yourself out to try to kill or kill more, and you get that 1 solid kill, and then they can't get a kill on you.
Yeah.
By killing that 1, you're getting kill more anyway. So sometimes being really cautious.
Yeah, keeping it really close. Or you go the other way, and you go all in.
I knew you were going to do that. You're pushing your chips. I
love
Drakari chips.
I absolutely love overload. And you go, I'm going to give you so many problems that stopping me holding more whilst also out killing me is going to be a massive pain in your ass. And hope that works. But Purge is just horrible for squishy stuff. It really is. It's a really nasty mission. It's quite nice to have it in there for the impact that has. But
it encourages like a Grey Knight Terminator build, right? Like it gives play to those sorts of things.
Exactly.
Times they much.
I feel like now is a good time for a quick hobby update. I've made my Illumina Ceres backwards. I noticed a third of the way in, went, I don't care enough to pull this apart, and continued on anyway.
Oh, wonderful news.
So he's just stabbing someone behind him, is he?
No, I didn't have any of the blood on there because I think it looks shit anyway.
Oh, Ceres, he's badass. I do like Ceres.
Simon, no. Ceres is coming with me to the ITT, as is this Chronomancer that is not painted in my colours.
Some of us are ready hobby-wise for the ITT.
Simon, I'm ready as long as someone brings my army to the ITT. And if they don't, I'm just fucked. I've got
one player without an army.
Yeah.
We've got one player who's got a few hundred points not painted. 3 of us.
Paul and Lee are ready.
Is Paul definitely ready?
No, because it depends how generous I am. If I remember to bring some Deathwing Knights for him or not.
Please give him some Deathwing Knights. It's the last time he's going to get to use them for a while.
That's very true.
I'm ready because I'm playing the same list that I've been playing for like 3 months.
Yeah.
So
also, especially
Fine Folk of Glasshammer, please remember my Votan.
Especially since he was here. Shout out to Dave for his list that I shamelessly stole Illumina Ceres from. Such a great unit.
It's an incredible piece.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
I don't know why I didn't see it the first time round.
It's really cool.
He's really annoyed himself.
Super.
I really was annoyed.
It's super good. Harley asked, can 6 Dread Knights do something now? I think we've had that in the chat as well. Yeah,
he's really keen to know.
Yeah.
Sindri wants to ask, new Kari. I like that, new Kari. I've got time for that. What's first on your list, Raiders, Venoms, or a mix of both? Only 960 points to have 6 of each. I do want to see what that's like, where it's just all the transports. But Venoms are more flexible than Raiders. Raiders die real quick on UKTC. I don't know if you've played many shooting armies on UKTC, but a Raider that isn't doing one specific thing, and that is hiding in a friendly staging post in one of those L's, is dead. It will die. It will not be alive anymore. So it's having the right number of boats that you can hide away. And Venoms are a bit better at sneaking out those little spaces. So a couple of Raiders, more Venoms is my initial thought, but then there is a bit of me that wants to go just full flotilla and just throw all of it and see what happens.
So no Tantalus then?
The Tantalus synergizes incredibly well with all of the new strats in the new detachment, but it is a Tantalus.
It's
So
still a Tantalus.
you have to make decisions.
Being 3.
You have to make. You can give the Tantalus a 4-up invuln. You can move the Tantalus and then get out of it and charge. You can have the Tantalus getting a pain token at the same time as a unit that's got out of it that's shooting. There's all sorts of random stuff you can do. That have the Tantalus doing potentially tons of mortal wounds after it's 4, but
you can give the Tantalus AP1 in combat. Technically, that's something you can do. I don't know if you would, but
it would be more than that because I think it has AP on its little blades already. But the Tantalus is a huge, stupid vehicle
that dies immediately.
That dies instantly as soon as I love it. I love it, but that was a fun way of playing Drakari in 9th when having a 250-point handicap made the games interesting. And I don't know that we're in the place where we can be taking those kind of luxuries right now. Focus on winning some games first, and then we'll think about the Tantalus after that. Sindri then asks, who has already taken their old world list building too far? To which I replied in the chat, I think you know, and several people laughed. It's got pretty serious in the old world chat, hasn't it, Chris? As newbies.
Well, for some people, there's some of us who just want to charge at things and beat them up in the middle of the board, and other people are having quite in-depth analysis of various armies and that sort of thing. So it's going to be an interesting approach.
I feel like
if you're interested, ping me on Discord. I'll show you my MSU Ogre Maneater pistol spam build.
Ed's jumped armies like 3 times already.
No, I'm still doing the high elves, but I am interested in ogres.
For the videos, he's going to be doing the high elves reluctantly, whilst actually printing off all of his ogres.
Someone recommended that I get cowboy hats for them because I'm going to
definitely rootin' tootin' cowboys. That's amazing. That's perfect.
Jack Asher has the Tantalus combo, so it has a built-in tank shock anyway. You can use tank shock with it. Then you use the new Drakari after fighting tank shock. That's 3 lots of tank shocking. And then Custodies will shrug most of that and kill you anyway, Jack. But you can do those things, and it's a fun time.
Quite good into Catan, though.
It's a lot of mortals, I guess, yeah. Is the Tantalus the answer to the Catan?
And my list doesn't do much shooting.
Yeah. I'll experiment with it. I think I've just been round this road with the Tantalus before. I don't want to waste too much time going down blind alleys with the Tantalus this edition.
Not again.
Okay. Now that GK heavy, Psy Cannon's got a buff, will we see an influx of baby cannons? People are really up on the old GK. Yeah, look, it's exciting. I think it's going to be good.
People are going to try it, right? And then just time will tell as to whether it's good or not. But the rules are inherently good in terms of movability, and they've now got basically +2 AP to some shots. So there's no reason. It's definitely better. Is it good? Is it good into Necrons?
Yeah.
That is the question.
Yeah.
How much? I'd like what? So 6 shots, 4 hits, 3 wounds, 1 Dread Knight is killing. If you're super lucky, 1 Wraith.
It's more the melee and having your characters be big damage output and being able to precision out the characters is nice. I think the reason it's probably okay into Necrons isn't necessarily the output, but it's the ease of killing the characters and then also the durability, because Necrons are going to struggle to kill the Dread Knights outside of the Nightbringer and the Void Dragon. So if you can have answers for those, I think
they do have the ignore modifiers thing, right? Grey Knights?
Oh, nice. I don't know.
I think there's a Grandmaster.
I think if you're running heavy Dread Knights, you're probably not running. Oh, do you mean like an enhancement or?
Yeah, I feel like there's something for Grey Knights which means you can ignore modifiers.
I'm not sure. You'll definitely be taking or you probably want to take the brick with what's his face with the sword and shield.
Drago.
Drago, thank you, because he gets a very short charge from Deep Strike once per game, which is.
And that's also now from Teleport Assault. I think I was reading. So, it used to only be when you dropped him down, but now you can do it when he's picked up as well. Greenhammer said so.
Cool. I didn't even realise you couldn't before, so good job I wasn't playing Grey Knights.
Yeah. I think Grey, and a lot of people have Grey Knight armies, don't they? So a lot of people are Dread Knights because that was a thing in life. So it'll be tried. You'll go to events. You'll definitely in the short term expect to see it.
I'm really excited for Harley to celebrate beating Eldar with them in what is a good matchup for the Grey Knights in a matter of probably a couple of weeks' time. So I look forward to that, Harley. Well done you as ever for winning against all the odds. Right, so next up we have got... we're pouring one out for the 10 Wraithguard build. Chris, you played the 10 Wraithguard build. Are you going to miss it?
No.
You know what I'm really excited to play? The other Wraiths.
The Wraith Blades.
Blades.
Yeah, I've not experienced.
They can roll a d6 because they're going forwards. They don't mind.
I didn't take them to LGT. I took double Avatar, and also I moved to Wraithguard just because it was the best thing to do to try and do well. It's fine. It's just, especially in UKTC terrain, deploy them in the same space every time, and they go in the same direction every time. It's just so boring.
It's quite
and I think I'm very much at that stage with Eldar where I'll probably just try some really weird stuff. I mean, I'm more interested in trying like Necrons and Hypercrypt at the moment, I suppose.
Simon Harris says, Chris, your entire demeanour changes when you mention Eldar. It just, there's something a bit defeated about him.
Yeah, I think it was genuinely that it was the Saturday we had our team training. And I was like trying out a couple of slightly different lists. So I tried out Avatar, Wraithguard, and Incarn into Necrons, and I also tried the triple spinner build into Votan. And the Night Spinners did sweet fuck all. Okay, but I've
never been less affected by Night Spinners than I was in that game.
Yeah, I was like,
they half killed a Sagittar, and that was about it.
All I've done is change my list and add lost material units and added a Night Spinner, which has done nothing and then died. So I'm not. I just found the playstyle boring. So I think I really need to change up. Maybe I'll, get some like Harlequins in, blocks of Harlequin troops, and like those sorts of things, and just try and have some fun with it.
I think that's the way to do it. Once you are not the top dog, you're kind of free, aren't you, in a way, because you're not trying to beat literally everything. You can just focus on having fun in a few of the matchups.
I would play like stuff, so the more like MSU sort of stuff does.
I still think Fire Dragons, Fugan, Falcons, just go and do it. I think it's fun.
How did Fugan get touched?
Hey, I think he's fine. He's a lot of points.
What, 115 to get back up again?
I guess Fate Dice hurts him as well.
Yeah, I guess because you can't just go ha.
Yeah,
12 damage. Bye tank.
Welcome, George from Real Space Raiders. Yeah, you've missed quite a lot of the Drakari hype. We're going to be doing this in a bit more detail. I'm going to put a couple of videos out, as I'm sure you will be in the near future. But basically, I'm super excited for it because whether or not it's actually any good, it's encouraging you to do things that I want to do when I play Drakari, which the last detachment really wasn't. I think the two detachments are very different from one another. I actually think, I was talking to Rob Kimpton, I was like, I don't think you're going to be able to give Real Space Raid up very easily because I think you're so used to doing a set of things that you just can't do in this detachment. So I do think you'll find players not sure whether they want to come and stab people or whether they want to just score really high by fire and fading every turn.
Rob definitely will be able to. He's got like 5 years of ingrained play.
Yeah, we'll see.
Stabbing me.
The passive story of Real Space Raiders was really quite good. But Simon says I played Luke from their team before. Was that Luke?
It's Luke Hammond. You've played Luke Hammond before.
Yeah, he absolutely bodied me with light Harlequins, I think, when that was a thing.
Yeah, he's a really good player.
Lovely guy.
He was stood next to me when I was playing Mike Porter, and and the next day, and we were chatting, and he was watching. The next day, I checked my Discord, and I had a message from him being like, Mike doesn't have the Shadow Spectre Exarch on his list, and he was playing it. And it was quite interesting because obviously Luke and I are both big Eldar players who always you look up to, like, Mike Porter's the Eldar player in the UK, and we were both a bit like, okay,
it's tough out
there. There are a few things there. Never meet your heroes, right? So we shared that, but no, Luke's a really good player. I know he's played some interesting lists before, so I'll definitely check out his list.
Yeah, absolutely cool. We're going to call it there, guys. We've had a nice run there. That's the data slate. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's nice to have so many of you here and have so many questions. We'll be back again soon where we'll have been to the International Teams Tournament. So no doubt we'll have some stories. Did we lose all 5 rounds because I didn't have an army? You're not going to know till next week. So tune in to find out. Thank you so much. We'll see you all again in the near future.